Hey there, it's Kate with Anime Missy. Thanks for tuning in. Today's episode will be between me and my friend Stefan. We're going to be talking about our top 3 favorite anime on Netflix and why. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, so the first one I'm going to choose is I'm actually wearing a shirt from it now, kind of.
Well, let's see it.
Neon.
Let's see it. Stand up.
So here we go. It's from the forthcoming movie. So this is Neon Genesis Evangelion. So it was actually released in 1995 when I was 2 years old. Part of the reason I chose this though is because in terms of like streaming services and such, this show was just unavailable for the longest time. And it wasn't until I think it was last year, maybe the year before, that Netflix finally kind of got the rights for it. And everybody was kind of just like, in shock about this, saying, how did Netflix get this? Blah, 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 this is so crazy. Netflix also did a new dubbing of it, which there was dispute about that too, whatever. But anyways, this is just generally one of my favorite anime. It tends to be towards the top of those, top 10 anime of all time, whatever lists. And there's a reason for that, I think, is yes, it's very anime in the sense of you have the fighting robots or whatever, but just generally too, it's a very interesting show that kind of questions, what it means to be human and how we have, human connections and such, the human condition, one might say. And so one thing that I'm interested in too is kind of the history of anime, I guess, kind of in some broad sense at least. And so I like going back and saying oh, these are the older ones, the classics or whatever, that people are still super invested in or have become canonized or whatever. And so Evangelion is one like that. Cowboy Bebop, of course, is another one. You could say Astro Boy. I haven't actually watched Astro Boy, but that's kind of definitive in terms of anime, manga, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a cool one. So what's your next? I guess I'll go then.
Yeah.
My turn. So I would say the top one for me, which should be the top one for everybody, is The Promised Neverland. This anime is, I would say, revolutionary, contrary to what you may have heard. Even if, dark horror underlying themed anime isn't your thing, the story is amazing. The animation is wonderful. It is so well thought out from start to finish, and the manga apparently is super amazing. I don't read manga, but my friends say it's great. But basically what it's about is a bunch of orphan kids. They're pretty much raised on a farm. They're not subject to technology. They have no idea. They just have their little farm, and they are, there's a mother that orphans all these children, just one. And basically the story is about the main character, Emma, and her two little sidekicks, Norman and Ray. They sort of happen upon something strange going on in the camp. The kids will get adopted out, right? Someone will get adopted, and then they'll never see them again, and they'll never hear from them again. And that's really weird. I haven't heard from, so-and-so since she left us. I wonder if she's okay out there in the real world. So they kind of pick up that something strange is going on. Emma and Norman, they happen upon what's really going on. And they find out that basically they're orphans, but they're not orphans. They're actually livestock. They're livestock for these crazy, weird beast things that eat their brains. And their brains are only as good as their test scores, as their level of happiness, all the chemicals that go into just being a human in your brain. That is
dopamine, serotonin.
Yeah, it's like best steak that you ever had. Who is number one?
Wagyu steak, yeah. Okay.
That is Wagyu. It's whoever has the best Wagyu steak brain. So it's interesting because they're trying to find a way to escape, and there's a whole lot more to that. It's so crazy just to give you a synopsis because there's so much more in depth about what's actually going on. And it's just really beautifully drawn as well. The music is great. I'm a big anime music fan. You always know anime is good if the theme song is good and the closing song is good. You always know.
Basically, the main reason I haven't watched it yet, is again like, so the kind of dark fantasy, horror, whatever, isn't really my genre in general. And even if I've heard that, like, a show is amazing or something like that, if it's not in a genre that I think I'm necessarily going to care for or really like, I may not end up watching it. With that being said, Kate has been harping on me to watch this one for a while now. Because of that, and because the season 2 is, in the works, I'm considering saying like, okay, fine, I'll give it a chance. Another one, not on Netflix, I think, that is actually very similar in terms of like the dark fantasy, is Made in Abyss. And so that was actually considered like anime of the year a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3. It's probably longer than that even. But that's one I didn't watch, again, because it's kind of like that dark fantasy or whatever. And I was like, I don't know. But then so many people have been talking about it. And season 2 of that is also apparently going to be dropping soon. So I was like, all right, so maybe I'll just kind of like give in and actually kind of watch dark fantasies. And like, granted, so like Madoka Magica is actually probably one of my favorite anime, and that one is a dark fantasy technically, like on the magical girl subgenre or whatever. So I'm not saying I can't enjoy them. It's just not my go-to, my preference necessarily.
I get that. I get that. And, it's kind of similar for me in terms of when I hear people talk about Naruto, One, Academia, One Punch Man. I can't get into those. I don't like the animation style. I don't like the way people are drawn. I'm a very much, if there's too many fillers, you're not a great anime, no matter how great you may seem in your non-filler episodes, because there's no reason for fillers at all. So in my mind, it's like, why would I even give you my attention?
So I heard an interesting argument about this earlier, actually. So I'm on like anime TikTok or whatever, and I think there's like more to her name, but Morley Gray is like what I remember her as. She made this argument recently about like, I think it was basically like, how do you know somebody's like your favorite character? And it's that you would watch filler about them. Like you wouldn't care that it's like whatever. It's like, I love this character so much, I would watch them brushing their teeth, going to the supermarket or whatever. Filler has its place, I think, and so like part of the reason filler tends to happen in those like long-running shonen manga/anime especially, is because the anime starts to catch up to the manga, and then they don't want to just like make up their own ending, as you saw with like the original Full Metal Alchemist and Soul Eater as well.
Oh
what they would prefer to have is like the actual ending, the real ending as set by the manga, and so they'll just like, before it was more the case that they would just like include a lot of filler, and so Naruto is infamous for that. But for more recent seasons and stuff, like with My Hero Academia, instead of just having it continuing on throughout the year, what they do instead is say like, okay, we're gonna have 1 season, maybe 2 seasons, My Hero Academia back to back, and then we're just gonna go on a hiatus for a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, until they have enough material from the manga to just like create another season and then keep going.
Yeah. Okay. No. Now that I know that there's an actual, it sounds like a scientific reason behind it, I feel a little bit better. That's true. I could probably watch many fillers of Sinbad. That's the second one I was gonna bring up. My second guy crush, my second anime guy crush. So yeah, we'll go into that one. That one is really fun. The name Adventures of Sinbad is exactly what it is. Very kind of similar to Seven Deadly Sins in that it's a beautiful world. There's always one thing after the next. There's always another mission to accomplish. Every mission he goes on, he recruits another person to his gang. He's on his way to become the king of the world, basically. Also, it's hilarious. It's really funny, and it takes a lot for me to laugh in animes in general. This one is really funny. I think it's really good too if you're just getting into anime to start watching something like that, because The Adventures of Sinbad is a real thing. It's also not anime. It's also a real story, a movie, but they've made it more of a animation style. So that one's really fun. I love that one. I wish they made another season. There's only 1 season. So I'm really upset about that. They need to make another one.
So actually kind of going off of that, what you just said, and so you had also mentioned music before. So the one that I'm going to recommend as my second one recently came out. It's called Great Pretender. So one of the things that really appeals to me about, so there are kind of three things, I guess. So one, as I kind of just mentioned, the music is really incredible in this anime in particular. And so one thing that one trope, I guess, one common recurrence in anime is having kind of like this J-rock opening. And I love me some J-rock, don't get me wrong, like One OK Rock is one of my favorite bands. But every now and then you'll have an anime that kind of opens with jazz or like a jazz number for their little opening credits sequence or whatever. And so like famous ones are definitely Cowboy Bebop on that, Kakegurui, which is another kind of, I think it's a Netflix exclusive actually. Also, it just has like a bop and intro, and it's like really, really beautifully animated. But this one too, The Great Pretender, has this kind of really jazzy opening, and that really just kind of sets the tone of the anime as a whole. Another thing that's like really interesting to me about this anime is that, like in my head, it didn't have to be an anime. It's just like such a good story on its own. It could have been just a movie or like, a normal TV show, whatever, live action TV show. It just happens to be in the form of anime. And because of that, so we have the music, we have this kind of story. The third thing then for me is basically like kind of like the colors and such in it, just the stylization of the art is really, really, really impeccable. I think someone might disagree with me, but it's super, super gorgeous in my view to kind of witness. And so like the three elements of this for me kind of make it really accessible, I guess, to somebody who's just looking to get into anime and saying like, okay, so I don't want to watch anything too crazy because anime is definitely known for being over the top at times. And this one definitely gets over the top, but it's in like over the top that you might see in a movie or something. And so the story is basically a heist story. So it's about a group of con artists, and they're pulling all these heists. They're traveling the world to do these heists or whatever. And you get to see some really interesting kind of like character development, yes, but just kind of like characters in and of themselves. So just like interesting people. And like, yes, you get to see their backgrounds, the motivations for why they do this or what have you. But just in general, the cast, I guess, is just really, really personable, I think. They interact with each other really well. They have their conflicts, their interpersonal conflicts, but it's always kind of in a fun way, I think. Obviously not for the person that they're going after. For me, it kind of recalls, if you're familiar with them, like the movie Ocean's 11, and or Ocean's 8, if you've seen the kind of remake spin-off. It's more a spin-off, I would say. Or there was a show that aired maybe in the like late aughts of the 2000s called Leverage. And so it was kind of like this Robin Hood thing or whatever, like these brilliant people, like a hacker, a mastermind, a thief, whatever, blah, blah, blah. They kind of like create this group, and then they go after these rich, evil people, basically. And then whatever money they got, they would like distribute to the victims of these people.
Yeah.
So this kind of has like a similar affect to that, I think, as well.
Gotcha. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the storyline is brilliant. I think, I was even shocked, at the end of the episodes where all of a sudden you figure out that you've yourself as the watcher kind of been heisted. You're like, wait a minute, how? I was totally fooled the whole time. Personally, just for me, I wouldn't recommend it for somebody just starting out in anime, simply because it's not really indicative of other anime, right? I mean, it's sort of its own category, like Tower of God. That animation style is very unique, and it takes a very analytical and appreciative, and somebody who has anime history and can appreciate that this is true beauty and true masterpiece, versus somebody who's just starting out, like my sister. I tried to show her Your Lie in April, and she was like, I don't like how their eyes are drawn, and she couldn't get over it. Yeah. Because we've seen so many anime, we're like, whatever. Like we appreciate it. We're like, oh, it's different, it's cool. But I would say I would definitely wouldn't recommend it to somebody on their first anime. And I also think it's more tailored towards the people who kind of like those movies, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 8, Ocean's 12, whatever. But it is fun.
If you just want to watch an anime and say like, okay, I can at least appreciate the art maybe, or at least I'm willing to give this art a chance.
Yeah.
This kind of opens up that opportunity for that.
Have you seen Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress?
So no, and that one actually that's been on my to watch list for a while. I've only heard good things about it.
Good thing. It's a hidden gem on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hidden gem. I had never freaking heard of it. And how have I not heard of it? I don't know. It's almost like the storyline of Attack on Titans with like a post, apocalyptic world. There's zombie people. If you get bit, you turn into a zombie. The main character got bit but didn't turn to a zombie. It turns out he became a Cabaneri, which is the mix between human and zombie. So he's able to have the strength of a zombie but still be human. But basically, they live, because it's a post-apocalyptic world, they basically live on a train. And they're trying to live in their little cities, but they keep getting overtaken by the zombies. So every time that happens, there's just too many of them. They get on the train, they jump ship, they bail the next town. But then there's all there's a lot of political game in there, like, oh, you can't come in here because you're an outsider, and you could be Cabaneri, and they all have to get tested. But the heroine is a badass. She is also a Cabaneri, and those two, very unlike, but have a lot of similar experiences in their past. They come together and they meet, and then they're trying to basically start a new world together, and they're trying to find the cure. So the main character was a scientist, I guess, and so he was trying to figure out a way to stop the transformation of the virus. It's a little bit on the darker side, but you like Attack on Titan, so I was gonna
say, it sounds very Attack on Titan actually in a lot of ways too. They have the mystery of like trying to solve it or whatever, and so there's like the key or whatever in Attack on Titan. Right. There's obviously like kind of the monster element, zombies here, Titans, and Attack on Titan.
And the animation style is pretty similar to Attack on Titan. Those bold lines, very, very drastic features, very bright reds, colors, things like that. Okay, what's your last one?
So my last one is quite a departure, I think, from the other ones I recommended. So Hello Kitty, right?
Yeah.
So Hello Kitty is developed by this company called Sanrio. So they make a lot of very cutesy kind of animal human-esque, cute, adorable little keychains and stuff or whatever. Right. So imagine like Hello Kitty, but Hello Kitty stuck in an office job and just like had it up to here with their boss, and is just like ready to explode at any moment. And then so she does. But what she does to like kind of channel this is she goes into this like, underground karaoke bar. It's like super like, on the DL or whatever, and she just screams and sings death metal.
Oh, it's funny.
So the show I'm describing is called Agretzko. It actually does exist. And it actually is produced by Sanrio. So Agretzko, or it's kind of like an amalgamation of aggressive and then Retzko, which is the character's actual name.
Oh, funny.
She's a red panda, I think it is. But yeah, so she's stuck in this like, corporate office job. It's kind of, a dead end job. She has some friends there, but she doesn't get along with all of her coworkers. Her boss is literally a pig. Like he is a pig, but like, also like a pig of a human or whatever. And so you just kind of see like all the office politics. It's very kind of like slice of life is the genre of anime, but it's also, because those tend to be kind of more fluffy and cute and stuff. This one is actually just very real. And it's like, wow, this is a kind of relatable, and also kind of hits a little too close to home at times.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's another really fun one, I think. If you have some knowledge of just even knowing what Hello Kitty is, but like being able to see like a relatable Hello Kitty or something like that. I don't know, it's like a super fun one. And so 3 seasons have been released, as well as a Christmas special, which is actually canonical, so you should watch that if you do end up watching the series. I haven't finished watching the 3rd season yet. I just started that. But the first 2 seasons and the Christmas special are really fantastic and just really fun to watch, I think. So that would be my last recommendation.
Okay, that sounds really fun. So you've got your 3, I got my 3. I think we have really good 3. There's tons more out there on Netflix. I do have a lot more honorable mentions than he does. Do you want to go first with your honorable mentions?
Sure, since I have fewer. So I'll just do like a very quick blurb about them. We don't have to talk about them. So Violet Evergarden is kind of the grand prize winner of Kyoto Animation, which is an anime studios contest. Put simply, it's just like the most beautiful thing ever.
Very beautiful.
So that's my spiel on that. Carol and Tuesday came out last year, I guess it was, maybe early this year, and is an anime about two girls living on Mars. Like civilization exists on Mars, but two girls living on Mars, and they start a band. And it's kind of cool because in this, distant future, AI write all of the songs, but they have they write their own songs. They write their own songs, but it's like original music or whatever. And just in general, so I think every episode has at least one song, and the entire soundtrack is just phenomenal. It's really, really, really good. So the next one I'll recommend is Mary and the Witch's Flower. It's actually a movie. So if you're familiar with Studio Ghibli and like Spirited Away, House of the Castle, Princess Mononoke, Totoro, etc., is kind of like an offshoot of that. So it's not actually Studio Ghibli, but my understanding is that a bunch of the like animators and creators from Ghibli created their own studio. So there's a lot of the magic of Ghibli in this. And it has some elements of kind of like Kiki's Delivery Service and Spirited Away in it. And then the last one is my non-recommendation recommendation. I have like really mixed feelings about this anime. It's Devilman Crybaby. I give it a 10 out of 10, but it is just so dark and bleak and intense and just like,
and it makes you kind of feel violated, but in a weird, like, I need to watch more of that way.
Yeah. So it's like despair is just the word that I think of. So like I can't recommend it to you because I don't want you feeling despair, but it's like it's an incredible show. So those are my.
Yeah, it's it's actually on the top 20 anime like you need to watch on online, is what it says on Netflix. I didn't even write down on my honorable mention simply because you have to be in the mood for it, for one.
Oh yeah.
Even if you're not in the mood for it, it'll change your mood really quickly. It's just really bizarre. I would never recommend it to somebody who is just starting out. It is really, really, really gory and inappropriate and just, it gets your heart going, but you don't know if you're afraid, if you're excited, if you're feeling tense. It's just, I will say it's.
¿Por qué no los dos? Why not all of it?
All of it at the same time. You kind of have weird emotion. Okay, cool. That was your honorable mention. I have a lot more than that, obviously. Your Lie in April, which we've talked about. Fate/stay night. Am I right or am I right? One of the most beautiful fight scenes you'll ever watch in your entire anime history of life, including the music and soundtrack during the fighting scenes. I'm right?
You're right.
Okay.
So I'll just very quickly say Fate/stay night, Unlimited Blade Works, because there are like a bazillion Fate shows.
Forget all the other ones. You only need to watch Unlimited Blade Works.
Yes.
It's confusing, but I think they kind of do a decent job of explaining it. I don't know.
You get it eventually.
If you're very patient, the first episode was 45 minutes long.
I don't remember that, but I believe it.
It's long. A lot of backstory. If you can get past the little backstory part, you'll fall in love with the main character. What is her name? Just the R.
Rin.
She's beautiful. She's smart. She's talented. And then you'll fall in love with her selected, what do you call it, spirit thing?
Servant.
Archer's a very foxy man. Anyway.
He is. Yeah.
I won't spoil who he really is. But anyway, to continue, have you seen Kuro Makuro on Netflix yet?
Which one is that?
Kuro Makuro. So it's got the what do you call it? Like the robots, and it's like a forward world, year 2070 or whatever.
Yeah. I haven't seen it though.
If you like Tarzan, you'll like this. It's kind of like, I know, it's so weird. Like Tarzan is, old world, and this is new world. It's like the guy is frozen in ice kind of thing for centuries.
Austin Powers, got it.
Pretty much, yeah. And so he breaks out during a moment of warfare with all the, this one company trying to take over another with their little robots and things. and he breaks out and he's like, you know, he doesn't know anything. He's got the long hair. He looks like Tarzan. Even the animation style looks like him. And he meets this girl. He doesn't know what cell phones are. It's kind of hilarious watching him integrate into the real world. He's like, how did you get in there? Like looking at a phone. He doesn't, you know, doesn't get it. And then he falls, you know, they start to, he and the main girl start to have a relationship, of course, towards the very, very end. You love him, but you hate him. He's a jerk, but he's also really good in, you know, saving humanity. And so I love that story. Have you seen Children of the Whales?
I haven't. I've heard that it's like, I think it's that it's like pretty, but the story wasn't great or something like that. That's what I've heard.
I put it on here simply because you'll never see what's coming when it happens. It's at first very bright and the world is perfect, and then all of a sudden shit gets real and people are dying and like, what the hell is going on? Like, it's really kind of, it's a beautiful world, but there's a lot of bad shit going on in it. So I like that juxtaposition. Sword Guy, have you seen that one? Why have you not seen all my honorable mentions?
Because I don't watch anime on Netflix generally.
If it's good enough to be on Netflix, it must mean it's really good. I don't know about all of them, but the ones I've seen have been really good. This is why I have so many honorable mentions. Yeah. Because they're all so wonderful on Netflix. Okay, Seven Deadly Sins, of course. Full Metal Alchemist is on there. Inuyasha. One of the greatest of all time. It's a goat. Even though
you've heard that the new series based off of it is coming out, right?
Dude, the one where the chick is the cat. Yeah, I've seen.
Wait, well, I don't know about that, but yeah.
Yeah. It's actually like, wait, is it?
It's their kids. It's their kids.
Oh, that's what it is. See, I haven't. I just saw the cover and I was like, oh my god, that looks like Inuyasha, but it can't be. But it is. Yay, they have kids. That's so cute. Spoiler alert. Okay, Inuyasha is I think the greatest love story of all time. And there's a lot of fun adventure in there. I would always skip through the fighting scenes. I thought they were pretty lame. Like, skip. But that's where love stories were invented in anime, was Inuyasha. No Game, No Life.
Yeah.
Yes, you support. That one's fun.
Entirely support. That's another really like colorful one though, and
very purple. Pink and purple.
Yeah.
They made a whole anime out of 2 colors.
They did.
2 colors.
And end games and cliffhangers and nothing after that, and it's very frustrating because of that.
A little bit of incest. You can just get.
It's not actually incest. It's just.
Really, it's more like implied.
Implied. See, and just in general, if you're interested in like, not you specifically, okay, but to the viewer, if you are interested in getting into anime, I'm not going to say that frequently happens, but it does happen. So just
ignore it. Have you ever seen B, The Beginning? Killer B, never seen it.
I mean, Killer B, I'm thinking Naruto, I'm thinking the Eight Tails Jinchuriki and his amazing rapping, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
Not at all. This one is more of a mystery, and there's an investigator on the case, and he's trying to crack this case, man. It's a really hard case, and he's going through this whole thing. He's like writing all over chalkboards, like all over his house. Like it's this crazy equation thing he's going through, and then but he's actually really trying to figure out what's going on in his spiritual dimension that's happening on Earth. It's really interesting. He figures it all out in the end. The ending is really good, really conclusive. You know, it's case closed kind of thing.
Excellent.
Case
what you want.
Yeah, it's one season. It's perfect. Case closed, like, and then it's done. So it's perfect. It's a good little one to watch. Blue Exorcist. Have you seen it?
I saw that. That was again like in my formative weeb years, I'll say. So I watched it when again like 10 years ago or whatever. I don't remember a lot of it, honestly. I remember enjoying it at the time. I don't feel the need to go back and rewatch it or anything.
No, you're good. And then Erased is my last honorable mention. Erased, I think, is worth a rewatch, no matter how long ago it is. You've seen it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It has an amazing opening song, which does not fit the tone of the show at all, in my opinion, but it's a really great opening.
That's right. They like to do that sometimes. They like to just throw in the opposite, try to make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one, right? I mean, to explain that one real quick, he goes back in time, his personal childhood, right? He goes back to try and save a couple girls. There's like a killer on the loose who is killing girls. and he goes back in time to try and solve and crack the mystery, basically. But he's a kid himself back in time.
Yeah, very Conan kind of in that sense, but yeah.
Yeah. So he's fighting with, you know, who he is as a 30 whatever year old, and he's actually like 6 or 7 year old. You know, but he still has all his 30-year-old knowledge. Don't you ever wish you could do that? You ever wish you could go back in time, like all the
not at that age.
Not at 30. Well, okay, yeah.
Well, so I guess it depends on, like, you know, the logics of that or whatever. So if I could go back, just because it's me, it would purely be in terms of not doing this for financial gain, but saying like, I know this is going to be, you know, unaffordable 20 years from now, so I'm going to buy it now. Again, not to like sell it later, just but like so I can have. So like for instance, a first edition Charizard card or whatever, those are selling for like in mint condition, $50,000, whatever. I can't afford that. So if I could go back in time and buy it when it was like $50, $100, whatever, like, yeah, just buy that, put it in a case, put it under the bed, take it out 20 years from now, mint condition. And again, I'm not selling it. I want this for myself.
You're telling me that's the one thing you would do if you can go back in time is save up on Charmander cards?
But like for the most part, I'm pretty content with my life.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
It's a place of privilege to be in, though, I will say. So.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I feel the way too, you know, but more on that. Just wanted to say thank you so much for your time. I know we've been talking for a while. Thank you so much, Stefan.
Something like that, yeah.
Hey guys, it's Kate with Anime Missy. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode with my friend Stefan. I apologize for the hasty goodbye. I'm still working on my editing skills and my overall YouTube presence. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it or got something out of this video. We had a lot of fun. Hope you did too. Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.